what's up? Welcome back to another Paul Masters video, and today let's talk a bit about the new Holiday Jasmine and Ampharos. So it's dropping tonight at reset, which as usual we'll be pulling for live, assuming no technological issues, right? So, all right, let's get into this. So this Jasmine and Ampharos, first of all, in terms of what this unit does, it's a support, right? It's a support. It's a seasonal support. It's a very good seasonal support. It's mostly a tank, right? I mean, if you look at its stats after it megas, like 333 on both defenses, which is a decent amount. The speed it's not a lot. It's not like terrible either, but it's also not like good. So there's that. HP is okay, I guess, at 679. And all right, moving on to its move. So it has a Thunder Shock, which is 1 gauge, which is cool for a relatively not super fast unit. Slash support, and then you have a super effective up, which is I think she's the first unit to have this, which just get a super effective up next to an ally. It's pretty simple, straightforward, right? It's kind of like classic Red's training move, except without all the other stuff, and it's just purely super effective up next on one ally, right? And then you have Potion, which is Potion, Comforting Light, which is her training move, which raises an ally's defense and special defense by 3, and then gives them gradual healing and gives them endurance. So it gives them like the ultimate, tanking combo. So you give it to herself. You could give it to another ally, right? Probably better to give it another ally because of her passives over here, which, first of all, she already has endurance coming in. And then you have full bracing command 9, which has a 100% chance of raising its own defense, special defense by 1 when its trainer uses a move, and there's 6 trainer moves to use, so you get that to +6 if you want. It's a bit slow. It's only +1 per turn, but I mean you could get there, right? Then you have Team Critical Command 9, which 100% chance of raising the crit of all its sync bears by 1 stat rank when the user trainer uses a move as well. So she is a max crit support, on top of being a max defense, special defense support. Only on 1 unit if you're trying to max it out without MP refresh, but well, 2 unit if you count herself. But yeah, she's basically a defensive tank support that could also buff crit, and she could take hits. She could also give super effective up next to the ally, right? So it's a bit of a mix between big tank and offensive support, right? And it's a bit different from like, generally when you look at offense supports, you think something like Singsu to Lisa, right? It goes in there, buffs crit, buffs special attack. She doesn't really do that. She can buff physical attack and special attack in her grid, but in terms of her base kit wise, right? She's a defense, mainly a defense support, but she also buffs offense in the sense that you got super effective up next, right? You got crit buffs, right? It's not like your conventional offensive support, right? So she gives you both offense and defense, which is really nice. And then after you sync with her, you get debut regen as well, right? Which gives you gradual healing coming in, which is also nice. So you basically have all these things that she does for an ally, she gets herself as well, right? So, and then full bracing command, whatever thing, which is just like +9. It's the same thing, except it's like +2 now instead of +1, so it's a bit faster. And then this stays the same, I believe, right? Yeah. So, okay, as for the grid, let's talk about, if there's any cool stuff in the grid, if you're trying to pull for her, right? How many copies do you want to go for? At 1 out of 5, you basically have the base kit. You just can't buff any, attack, special attack, right? But you have the max crit buffs, you have the max defense, special defense buffs, you have the whatever endurance, this and that, gradual healing. You have the 1 gauge Thunder Shock with a, with not a very good chance to paralyze. Super effective up, potions, right? So yeah, 1 out of 5 doesn't really give you much in terms of the grid. Although at 2 out of 5, you do start getting some offensive buffs, right? You do get Team Fierce Entry 1, Team Grand Entry 1, which since it is a mega unit, right? Assuming you sync with her, EX support, all that stuff. I mean, you could sync with the support if it's not EX, but obviously it'd be really nice to also EX her, right? So, Team Fierce Entry, Team Grand Entry, so you could also have her buff at least well, I guess at most, right? +2 attack and special attack over here for your team. So if you just need to top off some unit, right, boom, you pick up one of those, depending on special physical unit, right? That could be nice. Hostile environment on Thundershock, which makes Thundershock easier to paralyze, although there's a better way. Then you have Shock Recovery, which is nice, where you could heal in Electric Train if you're running her in Electric Train. Same with Turbocharge, right? Extra move gauge, charging in Electric Train. You have the MP Refresher Trainer move. It's only MP Refresh 2, but you do have at least 2 shots at proccing that. Unbending and Stalwart are always just nice stuff to have for a tank, right? Could again be really useful in certain legendary arenas like Azelf or something, right? MP Refresh for super effective up as well. Also only 2. Then you have Quick Cure, can't get paralyzed, Mass Heal, and Potion MP Refresh. So honestly, 2 out of 5, she got a lot of really nice stuff, right? I feel like her 2 out of 5 versus 3 out of 5 is a lot of things are pretty much the same, except 3 out of 5 is kind of like her 2 out of 5 grid, but like everything, but doing everything better, right? For example, 3 out of 5 you have Team Shout for, which this 50% chance of buffing attack, special attack, or both, right? When you get hit by an attack move, so this makes it so that theoretically you could have the chance, right, to max out your team's physical or special attack from like straight up 0. It's gonna take a long time, right? Unless you have really good luck, but you could do it at least, not like capped at only +2. And then you got stuff like Static Cling 9, which instead of the 30% chance of paralyzing, like boom, you have a guaranteed chance to paralyze as long as you get hit by the opponent, right? Then you have the other half of Potion MP Refresh Master Healer combo, and then on top of that you got some extra really nice stuff, Catalyst, which could help with the speed thing, right? You have Adrenaline, which is nice, especially in mass mode, right? So sync for the opponent twice, which is cool. And then you have Mighty Friend, Clever Friend, which gives an extra physical move up next or special move up next, depending on which one you pick up, obviously. And yeah, it's like the conditions are really good too. It's like it's fine. It's just like guaranteed, right? Physical or special move up next. You could also get MP Refresh, right? You get even more than 2, right? So she's not only giving you crit buffs, some attack and special attack buffs depending on which synchro level you're on, right? And super effective up next, and then you got physical and special move up next. There's not too many units in the game that give you both like super effective up next and physical and special move up next. I guess like it's like Annie, Raihan, a few others, but relatively rare, right? And on top of that, she's a big, like, her main job is still being a tank with these 300 something defenses, right? I mean, let's see, 20 out of 20, that's like almost 400 defenses, throwing a gear up there, it's 400 defenses, right? So yeah, 3 out of 5 is definitely very nice. Although I'd say this stuff, as cool as they are more like extra overkill stuff. But yeah, it's 3 out of 5 versus 2 out of 5 is more so at least for half of the stuff, it's more so, okay, we can make things a bit more reliable, right? So and just make the things that you get in 2 out of 5 just like better. Plus the extra stuff on the left side of the grid. So there's that. As for some pros and cons, someone recently asked me to maybe list some of those, and we could go through that, right? All right, pros. Very tanky, right? Very tanky with the defense, special defense, and her own max defense, special defense buffs. Has the extra potions with Skyla, potion combo, right? You have all the really common but generally pretty freaking useful like tank stuff, right? Like Quick Cure, Stalwart, Unbending, right? Like again, these aren't uncommon, but they're just nice to have. On top of some other stuff, you have the Paralysis, right? Would be very good against someone like Tornadus in the Gauntlet. And then, you could also run her in Electric Train, which could be very nice. And, on top of all the defensive stuff that she could bring to the team, you also got a lot of offensive stuff, right? Like the super effective up next, like the physical special move up next at 3 out of 5, like the crit buffs, like the offensive, physical and special attack buffs and all that stuff, right? So yeah, you got a lot of things going for you, right? Again, also, not to mention the gradual healing, endurance stuff as well. So it's a really, really, really nice tank that could also give you some offensive buffs as well. As for some of the cons, I guess, also another pro, it's Jasmine and Ampharos. It's like a classic like trainer Pokemon pairing in like the Pokemon series franchise. So there's that. As for some cons, she's relatively slow. She's not horrifyingly slow, right? But she's not fast, right? Like 283 speed is not super fast. But you do make up for it a bit with like Thundershock being 1 gauge. You also do have Catalyst, which could help in a shorter battle, right? Like a Master Mode. That could be nice. But yeah, it's definitely not, gauges wise, definitely not like a gauge support. As for some other downsides, yes, she can buff these offenses, but they are going to be relatively slow, right? Team Fierce Entry, Team Grand Entry gets capped at +2. Team Shout doesn't really have a cap, but it is very RNGs. First of all, you have to win the 50-50 on... Well, first of all, you have to get hit by an opponent, right? I mean, sometimes opponents just, like, use trainer moves and whatever, and they just don't, like, attack you. And after they hit you, 50-50 chance for it to trigger, and then after it triggers, it's only, what, 66% chance to get, like, the offensive stat you want? Unless you want, like, you don't mind either, but... Yeah, that is, I guess, another downside. Is there anything else in terms of downsides? I don't really think so. I mean, she's just really, really, really nice. Got sync move countdown there as well. Yeah, she does like almost everything over here. Oh, I guess another downside is like, don't expect her to be like DPSing with Thundershock. I guess that's even again, supports don't have to do damage. It's nice if they do, right? Like SS Brendan or something like that. But yeah, supports don't really have to do damage. But if you really want it, she doesn't do damage. Okay, fine, fair. That is true, I guess. I could concede that she's not going to be, one-shotting stages with, like, Thundershock, right? So, okay, if you want to count that as a con, then sure. All right. Anyways, moving on. Okay, so let's get into, I guess, some Sync Grid / Lucky Skills / Team Comp recommendations if you guys are lucky enough to pull this unit, right? So, at 1 out of 5, you don't really have much. Just, like, pick up, like, everything minus the Thundershock power-ups if you want to save on Sync Orbs, I guess. In terms of Lucky Skill, by the way, you could go with Vigilance if you want. You could go with the Speedy Entry too, would help solve the gauge issue a bit as well if you want. That's a pretty solid option either. Or not either as well. I mean, she's physically, naturally tanky enough. You don't really need Vigilance. So, like, even if you do get crit, it's not going to be, like, that bad. But, Vigilance is always just going to be fine for a tank. And depending on the scenario, right, you could also throw in others. Like, for example, if you're trying to run her against, I don't know, like Tornadus, for example, you give her, like, Antidoxin if you really want as well. So that's also an option. I mean, they're tanks. Tanks can have a lot of different options in terms of their lucky skills. In terms of like what you're facing, what else you got on your team. But the general like safe one is always going to be Vigilance, right? So, anyways, moving on to 2 out of 5. In terms of the grid, this one really depends on what you're running, right? If you're running someone who needs some physical buffs, you could pick up Team Fierce Entry. If you're running with your damage deal that needs special buffs, you could pick up Team Grand Entry, right? Very, very, very simple concept over here. As for some other things, you could pick up Super Effective up next, assuming the unit you're running it with is actually super effective. I mean, you get more of these, just more free damage, right? I mean, if you get multipliers here, it's just nice. As for some other things, you could pick up the Master Healer / MP Refresh combo over here if you want. You could also pick up Quick Cure if you need that. I guess you could also pick up the Hostile Environment stuff if you really need that. Again, whichever ones you pick up and drop, right? So, like, these, like, okay, here's the main few things that you really want, right? And I guess you could also pick up the MP Refresh over here, but I generally don't feel it's that big of a deal, right? I mean, if you're the tank, like, yeah, it's nice that you could buff your other, like, damage dealers, defenses and stuff, but generally, you don't really need to get them to, like, +6 to survive a stage, right? They're, other than, like, sync moves or, like, AoE moves, which generally don't happen too often unless it's, like, something like a Gladio stage or whatever, right? Are there any... I guess, like, after you take out the sync or the mid and, like, mass mode and the side start doing stuff, It's generally not that big of a deal. You don't really, you just give one teammate one of these and another teammate another one of these as well, right? It gets better at 3 out of 5 when you have this, but MP Fresh I don't feel like it's that big. So it's basically some combination of these few skills, right? Again, really just depends on what you're trying to support. If you're trying to support physical move or physical units, you have this. With super effective units, you pick up that. If you need more healing, or if you need to get rid of like a trap or a really annoying flincher, you pick up quick cure, right? Again, obviously you can't pick up everything, but this just really depends on this stuff. Stuff on the left side depends on what allies you're using her to support. Stuff on the right side is what enemies you're facing, basically. It's literally like that's how it's. Yeah, left side is helping allies, right side is dealing with opponents, basically. Okay, 3 out of 5 over here. Again, the same principles generally apply, except it's just a bit more expanded, right? Maybe you don't straight up don't have to pick up hostile environment unless you don't have like the gauges, I guess, because you do have to. There's like a slight downside over here, which is like if you want to go for static link, you have to pick up like turbocharge, which unless you're in, I mean, if you're in lecture terrain, that's really, really nice, but if you're not in lecture terrain, it's not very useful. Obviously it's like you're costing like 20 to pick it up, so if it's not a stage that you really, really, really have to paralyze, right, then I guess hostile environment would be a bit better, because at least you're picking up something like Thundershock, which is move gauge, which is slightly, more useful than static cling. But as for other things, right, Team Shout, if you do pick up Team Shout, you don't have to pick up like any of this stuff, like in terms of Fierce Entry or Grand Entry. These are more reliable and more surefire things, but this, if you only need +2 like to top someone off, obviously these are probably better. But if you need maybe like a +4 or in some cases +6, honestly, if you're trying to get a +6 on a damage dealer, Ampharos might not be the best option here. If it's like +3 or +4, this might be a bit better. If it's just +2, then it's this, right? And then you can pick this stuff up depending on what again unit you're trying to support, right? If it's a physical or special unit, right? Special unit, pick up the Clever Friend thing. If it's physical unit, pick up the Mighty Friend thing. You could have the MP Refresh over here, because more MP Refreshes is more of that, right? Pick up the Super Effective up next as well. If you're Master Mode, right, Adrenaline 1 could be really, really nice. Or Catalyst, right? Catalyst, Adrenaline 1 or both could be really, really nice in Master Mode, for example. And you know what sucks? You can't just go like this, because you're like one short. I'm pretty sure there's nothing else we could really do, right? Yeah, you just have to like drop one in these, I guess. But yeah, that's more so on the offensive side of things. If you do need a bit more defensive stuff, for example, if you're running her in like a gauntlet maybe, then depending on the stage, quick cure, right? For example, Entei would be really, really nice. Quick cure here. The other ones, is there anyone that really, I guess Cobalion can flinch a bit, Tabu Bulu could flinch a bit, but like generally, Tornadoes can confuse, but getting confused is not that big of a deal. But yeah, as for like some other ones, I guess if you really do need all this potion stuff, you could definitely pick it up. Although she's that good of tank that I don't think like the potion stuff is overkill, right? Really, really tanky already. She could buff max out defenses, max out defense for your teammates as well. I don't think it's super necessary. You could pick up like half of these maybe, and then you could use the other stuff on other things. If you do need to paralyze the opponent, you could static cling over here. If you don't paralyze them that badly, this stuff. And again, Team Shout if you need to max out a teammate that has a bit too much needing max out. But if they don't need that much to max out, then better just to go for your Sentry Grand Ninja. Again, supports, like what grid you have to build, very, very, very much depends on what stage you're fighting and what teammates you're trying to support, right? So I can't really give you like a one grid catch all, right? Because you can't do that. And as for team comps, again, it really depends, right? Like it's a support. You could run like a lot of things with her, right? I feel like probably it's better when it's just units that really just need that like extra +2 to max their stuff out. And again, it's more so who the opponent is in terms of super effective up next, right, and all that other stuff. Is there anyone she runs particularly well with? Just don't run her with herself 3 times. This could be a very, very slow team. All 3 of her units are incredibly slow. I mean, I think she's like the fastest one of them. I don't know. Celesteela, is she faster than Celesteela? I don't know. They're both not very fast. But also not like as slow as Helix, so there's also that. Celesteela is a bit slower, but Celesteela does have move gauge, refresh, and ion on absorb. So I mean, I guess the jury's out on that one. But yeah, I guess like some units that could use the Towering Force multipliers, maybe that could be nice, or tough cookies, like maybe like a Raihan or something. That could be cool, I guess. But yeah, it generally really just depends on who your main damage dealer is, right? You build teams around most of the time the damage dealer, not always, right? And also in terms of picking tanks, who the opponent is, right? So all right, that's that. Honestly, in terms of poll score, I'd give this like a 8.3 out of 10, which is slightly surprising because this is like 8.3 out of 10 is really, really, really high for like a non, I guess, Master Fair unit. But I don't know, I really like this kit. It's really, really good, man. It's really, really, really good. You can max defenses, right? Super effective up next, physical special move up next, all that stuff. You could theoretically max out attack and special attack, theoretically, but you know. Yeah, the gradual healing stuff, the endurance, all that. The guaranteed paralysis with static cling over there. Not that it's the best thing to pick up, but well, in terms of energy cost wise. But yeah, also, you got adrenaline. It's adrenaline support. It's a mega support, right? Which is a very, very nice there. Her own defenses, don't have to worry about that. Max crit buffs. There's so many things, man. She does basically everything a support needs to, except for the gauges part, right? Which she does do a bit with like Catalyst and stuff, but like obviously it's not like great, right? But like outside of gauges, she basically got you like on almost everything a support does, right? So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Obviously she does some things better than others, right? I mean, defensive support is much better than her offensive support in terms of buffing offensive stats. But again, she does make up for that with stuff like super effective up next, right? The physical special move up next off of her training move. So it's a good support. I don't know what else to say. It's a very, very good support. It's a very, very, very good support. Do you have to pull for it now? No, not really. Right? I mean, you could still, do the usual thing and just wait till like the last minute. In terms of see whatever's coming next month. Also, the Greninjas are still up, and as much as I like this Jasmine, and I think this Jasmine is a fantastic support, the Greninjas are, I would say, unless you really, really just don't like Greninja or you just hate Serena or Kaylin for some reason, but yeah, those are probably better units to pull, as good as she is, right? But if you do have them, you're good on them, or you just hate those units for some reason, and you like Jasmine, fantastic unit to pull. Fantastic unit to pull. Really, really nice. Can't wait to use it. Try it out. I already have her planned out for one of my gauntlet runs, man. It's gonna be on the let's see, it's gonna be number 91, run number 91. Win streak number 91. It's gonna be Holiday Jasmine, so stay tuned for that, I guess. So anyways, that's me this one. Hope you all enjoyed, guys. Think in the comments down below. Like, enjoyed the video, subscribe to my channel for more Palmas content, all that stuff. So yeah, have fun. Good luck, guys, are pulling. Whether it's for her or anyone else, or not pulling at all, right? Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, and also whenever her banner comes up, we'll be pulling for that one live as usual. So see you guys.